hurt to create some of this delinquency and things? And have they overdone it?
Well, so I think I don't believe they have the power they think they do, just, studying the bond markets. But
Sure.
sure, I think that's what they think is happening.
Yeah.
And I think though you have on the other side of it, Yellen in Treasury, increasing shorter duration T-bills and selling that. And this is what's creating that quantitative easing effect. And that's why you're seeing the 10-year Treasury rate, which is what mortgage follows closely, come down. And
Mhm.
that's also why you're seeing really bad auctions in the 10-year and 30-year, are part of the reason. The other part of the reason are the Japanese. You're getting lower foreign
Yeah.
investment as both, I think, China and Japan are struggling. And so there's a lot going on, but there's a battle right now. There's a battle, it seems, between the Treasury and the Fed.
Mm.
And that is why what's fascinating actually is to watch the 10-year over the past 3 days, it's just battling right with the yen.
Mm.
And so there's a lot going on in the macro picture. And I think that people look at the Fed as they're the ones driving everything. But in reality, it's those external forces that are going to dictate the direction or the decisions that they make, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I definitely want to get into your seconds conversation because I thought it was a fascinating video. I saw you're talking about the HELOCs and seconds are going out there. What are you seeing right now in the delinquency in the market for mortgages, right? We're seeing in the secondary market for the last 3 to 4 years, anyone who's been in the note space since 2019 has seen performing levels that we've never saw, right? For the last 5 years, I've never had a portfolio perform as well as it is in the last 5 years. It seems like everything you touch right now stays performing. However, we knew for the first 10 years, nothing performed, right? We're waiting for a default and we're starting to see cracks at our level, which is nowhere near the Goldman levels, right? Where are you seeing the data on the 90-day plus delinquencies or 60-day plus delinquencies in the data?
That's such a great question, David. And it shouldn't matter, right? You would think we should be able to just track this easily. Like, why
Mhm.
wouldn't the Fed have it? So the problem with what happened after the GFC is you had so much of the lending move from the big banks to the big non-banks like Rocket, UW, et cetera, PennyMac. Well, the Fed only tracks commercial banks and their delinquency and their overall. That's sitting where we were 1.71 Q3 2006. Cannot wait for it to update for Q2. It's only released quarterly. Then you have Black Knight. They have about 36 million mortgages based because people use their system, but they claim to have 80%. But after going to your conference, I started asking a lot more questions, and I can see now that's not accurate.
No.
At all. And especially when I met servicers I had never heard of. And guys, I've been in this space is pretty small. It's like, so to not have heard of those people, like, I know people don't know about them.
Mhm.
And so Black Knight had been looking just so stellar. And I'm like, this doesn't even make sense because you could look at somewhere like Inside Mortgage Finance, look at FCI Lender Services, which is more geared to servicing in your space. They had a 30% delinquency. And I was like, oh, and you could look at someone like Specialized Loan Servicing, where I used to work, they had about a 7%. And so in the Black Knight data, it looks super great until very recently, until that June move. But then you could go to the Census Household Pulse Survey, which is a newer, sorry, I almost dropped something, is a newer series. And you saw over 5 million borrowers saying that they weren't current on their mortgage. And it was like, what? I mean, because no one was talking about that.
Yeah.
And now I've heard things about people maybe not reporting,
Yep.
who knows?
There's a lot of seller finance notes out there that they're self-servicing. They're
Yep.
not reporting anyone.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so I think that we have big black holes
Mhm.
from Black
Yeah.
Knight, big black holes in the data. And I think that everybody's about to get real surprised because every schedule you saw out there showed auto going up, delinquency, credit delinquency going up. We're here because buy now, pay later doesn't report to credit. It was over 40% delinquency, but mortgage just looked just fine. Not anymore, guys. The trajectory, it's up. Now, default, and I don't have to tell you guys, but maybe the listeners, it's a push and pull. It's never just a straight line down because
Right.
people are trying. Yes, they gave up their credit, but nobody wants to lose their home. And they're just
No.
trying to do everything they can to stay in that home. They're going to get into a modification program, a repayment program, and they're going to do their best. But all of us here who have managed to file know that it's very sad, but you can stand back and just know that a certain percentage is not going to cure. And so what we've seen is delinquency has gotten a lot more sticky, and you're seeing fallout, more and more fallout. They're not performing in the modifications. They're not performing with the forbearance. I mean, they're not able to cure after the forbearance. And so it's a push and pull, but we now have sticky delinquency. And I believe in the official numbers, nobody's going to have any questions by June of 2025. That is my opinion, that by the time we get there, barring an exogenous event or the UFOs coming to give us high paying jobs, because AI is our biggest headwind. Is it how and if you really think universal basic income is where you want to be, then I don't. It's a really bad idea. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
And the modifications, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I think we do it better.
100%.
I think we're better at doing modifications than banks are. We're far more flexible. We're more human. We don't have, the box that we have to work in. We can do all kinds of cool things.
We can also make emotional decisions. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't work. We're going to have to foreclose because, listen, you just can't afford this. I don't care DTI.
Yeah.
This is going on. That's going on. Listen, we're doing you a favor, and we have that power. Yeah, I totally agree, right? I think banks, the rubber
100%.
stamping is still there.
Guys, I mean, I see it every day. It's like, oh, you need to take this 40-year mod. Well, that's going to reduce your payment by $100 and add that's going to crush your future purchasing power.
Yeah.
So I agree. We cannot Henry Ford credit. And we have tried and that is exactly what happened in the robo signing crisis. They were trying to Henry Ford foreclosure. You can't. It's a legal process. It's messy. It's just messy. And humans are very, very messy, and credit is very messy. And, Edward Chancellor wrote this amazing book, The Price of Time. And it's all about the history of interest rates, which goes back to when we were scribbling on stone walls and caves. I mean, so I think both of you would actually really enjoy that book. It's such a great
after hours.
Yeah.
So I'd love for us to dive into this, and I did talk to Nathan about this. What do you think is going to cause, if anything, our next 2007, 2008, for those who are creating assets right now? There's a lot of people that are creating notes. They're doing wrap notes, which they're wrapping around delinquent debt that's at 3%. I talked to someone just a couple days ago where they literally bought a property that the unpaid balance is 300, the value of the property is 300, and they wrapped it with a $305,000 wrap note, simply because the underlying debt's at 3% and they're going to now charge 10, so then they make it a 7% spread. For those who are doing that, what do you say and what do you feel?
Yeah, guys, I understand that every schedule out there is talking about how much equity everybody has. Here's the problem. Well, here's one big one. 1.8 million people had to take a workout from those forbearances and something called the payment deferral, which was actually taking those 18 months of forborne payments and putting it on the back of the loan to be paid off when that loan is paid off. They did not record those. These are silent seconds. They are silent seconds, and you may not have any idea they exist if you're only looking at public record. If they did the partial claim, those were likely recorded. That's because it was that's the FHA product. But so I think the equity picture out there is not what they're reporting, because I also have worked at companies that report that stuff to the bank, to the Fed. Let me tell you, it's a spreadsheet, guys. And if you don't understand, it's nothing fancy. They're not. And so if they're using Experian, for instance, to look at, some of those servicers do report both balances. Some of them don't. Because of their system limitations. So I think the equity picture is not as great as everybody thinks. And then also, guys, the market has been frozen for almost 2 years. Okay. There has been no price discovery. There's been zero price discovery. We are building inventory. over 30% year-over-year increases in inventory, and way back in many locations at 2019 levels. And I can tell you why. I don't even think that matters. So this is happening. The inventory is there. It's sitting. Those that are in distress, those that need to move, those that are also scared, they will start moving that product at the same time the builders are. And we will have price discovery. And it can happen, as we often say, gradually and then suddenly. And so they went up suddenly. They went up over in an 18-month period, right? They can also come down